Gurudev. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev. So we are, I think, halfway down Gita. After of the 18 chapters, we've come to the 9th chapter, which is wonderful, and we're very grateful to Nana for having, guided us thus far. Very good.
So true. Yeah, Hari Om.
Yeah. And this is the second chapter where Bhagavan is the only one speaking. Arjuna does not talk. The other one was, I think, the 7th chapter, 7th and 9th. It is only Bhagavan speaking. And this Guhyatamam Yogam, the king of all secrets, Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam. So automatically the student or whoever is listening will become alert, because it's such an important, he suddenly exalted it to the king of all secrets, the secret of all secrets. So, and that term Anasuya is such an important thing. Not finding fault with others. It is easier said than done, especially with respect to me. I mean, I being a perfectionist, the imperfections show up first. Of course, when I look back at how I was maybe 20 years ago to what I am now, there is a big change, but there is still that, it's still not completely Anasuya. So that once we are in that state, then the Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam. It's not just Jnana, it is not just Paroksha Jnana, it is also, it will lead to Aparoksha Jnana. Vijnana Sahitam. Yeah. Anyone else wants to share their input?
Hari Om. I'm really touched by Bhagavan's compassion. He's telling Arjuna that I'm unfolding you, Shanai Shanaihi. So that's so beautiful.
And I have a small doubt. Maybe I missed it. Why is this called a Raja Rahasya? That you should be Anusuya. That is Raja Rahasyam, is it?
No, Raja Rahasyam is only to give it that importance that it is the prime or the cream of all secrets, the cream of all knowledge. Self-knowledge is the cream of all knowledge, no?
Okay. All right.
I think that is the reason.
Understood.
I think Nana had given the example of a miser who would all the time be worried about his wealth. He's not able to sleep because he's only concerned about his wealth. That is material wealth. Whereas here, what the wealth that is talked about is self-knowledge, which is the highest, knowing which you really don't need anything else. If you look at the shloka, it says, Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitram idam uttamam pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam Sasukam. Let me just show up that verse. 1 second. Yam prapya nanivartante. That is also there, no? It says, yeah. Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyami anasuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yad jnatva mokshase shubhat. That yet one having known which you will be liberated from the ashubha. Ashubha is the cycle of birth and death. So you will be liberated from the samsara, having known which. And therefore, this is the highest knowledge.
Okay. And how does he convince this miser to drop his worries about the material wealth? I missed a little bit of that story. Like I didn't get it. Who convinced the miser? That I didn't get. And how? Like we are all the misers, right? Because I mean, this is how I am understanding that
Is the miser. Yeah, correct. See, I think in one of the Upanishads, I think Chandogya Upanishad or so, I can't remember which one. In the second chapter, when we were reading, the meaning of the word kripanaha is a miser. A miser is one who leaves this body without having gained self-knowledge. That is a miser. That is the definition of a miser. Arjuna, I think, mentions, no?
So how do you turn this miser into a seeker? What is that secret?
That is why he's saying, that is why Bhagavan is saying, now listen, I'm going to tell you, unfold the secret of secrets. So for all of us who are misers, this is the secret that we have to know, to learn from Bhagavan, who is unfolding it. I don't know whether that makes sense to you. I can't remember whether there was a story about the miser and Nana was connecting it. I don't know. Maybe someone else can share that. He mentioned the miser only to contrast how a person who is into a worldly wealth compared to self-knowledge, which is the highest wealth.
And then he said, no, something like you have to give some of your wealth and to tell the world or something like that. I didn't get that. Maybe I'll go back and listen to it.
Yeah. Can someone else throw some light on what Sumaji is asking?
Like he said, like you spend some of your wealth and show to the world, and then you'll get more wealth. And that more wealth, somehow he connected to this self-realization, and then he comes on the path. That's how I got it, but I couldn't get it in flow. I'll go back and listen to the thing today.
Yeah.
I think he mentioned about two kinds of miser: a person who is very rich but still miser, and a poor and a miser. So then that's how he went about. जैसे आप कह रहे हैं, you know, he spends, the one who is rich and miser, he has to spend a little to come into it, you know, as you just explained. Even I am little confused, but yes, this I know. He mentioned about two types of people: rich and miser, and poor and miser, and then later that connects the dots. And I think I will also listen to it once again.
So he says, Shri Bhagavan, the Lord, Uvacha said too, whereas idam, this guhyatamam jnanam, most secret knowledge, vijnana sahitam, together with immediate knowledge, te anasuyave, to you who are without calumny, pravakshyami, I will explain clearly and in detail. Yat jnatva, knowing which, moksha se, you will be liberated. Ashubhat, from all that is inauspicious. Sri Bhagavan said, whereas I will explain clearly and in detail to you who are without calumny, this most secret knowledge, together with immediate knowledge, knowing which you will be released from all that is inauspicious. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitramidamuttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. Idam, this Raja Vidya, the king of all knowledge, Raja Guhyam, the king of secrets, Pavitram Uttamam is the greatest purifier. Pratyaksha Avagamam, directly appreciated. Dharmyam, in keeping with dharma. Susukham Kartum, easy to accomplish. Avyayam, imperishable. So this is the king of all knowledge, the king of secrets, the greatest purifier, directly appreciated, not opposed to dharma, easy to accomplish, and imperishable. This easy to accomplish is this, once you're there, nachirenadhi gachati, achirenadhi gachati. It is like in a moment you can actually get this. And like Gurudev says, it's not that you need to do a lot. In fact, you should let go and undo and relax. Only then does this knowledge dawn. So it is instead, otherwise they will be put off. And here Nana had mentioned, normally we are in a self-blame or most so normally it is we tend to put ourselves down. Oh, I'm not capable, I can't do this, this is beyond my capacity. Either that, or people around us might put us down. Oh, what is this guy capable of? What is this person? So either which ways, so in order to take care of all that, he has reassured Arjuna, saying this is easy to accomplish.
So one way to look at it is Atma is real, everything else is not real, right? Well, everything is then you have to ask yourself what you are not, then you keep saying that you're not this, not that, so then hopefully we can come to this self.
Correct. अश्रद्धधाना पुरुषाः धर्मस्यास्य परन्तपा अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्यु samsaravartmani. So in contrast to a person who is anasuya, a person who is, he's saying, parantapa, O destroyer of enemies, Arjuna, asya dharmasya, in this self-knowledge, ashraddhanaha purushaha, those people who have no faith, mam aprapya, not gaining me, mrityu samsara vartmani, on the road of samsara, which is fraught with death, nivartante, they return to or remain in. Those people who have no faith in the self-knowledge, Arjuna, not gaining me, remain on the road of samsara, which is fraught with death. Maya tatamidam sarvam जगदव्यक्तमूर्तिना मत्स्थानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेष्वस्थितः. Maya, by me, avyakta murtina, whose form cannot be objectified. Idam sarvam jagat, this entire world, tatam is pervaded. Sarva bhutani, all beings, matsthani, have their being in me. Nacha aham, and I am not teshu avastitaha, based in them. So this entire world is pervaded by me, whose form cannot be objectified. All beings have their being in me, and I am not based in them. Initially I had this doubt, how come he's not based? He's there in everything. How come he can say he's not based in them? It is not, he's not dependent on them for his existence. So he is the only one that is, and everything else is because of him. Like that Brahmashraya Maya. Maya is based on Brahma, whereas Brahma is not based on Maya. Brahma is Brahma by himself. But since Maya is dependent on Brahma, everything that is caused by Maya, the created by Maya, has Brahma in it. It is pervaded by him. Anyone else wants to share anything else before we go to chapter 2? So first we gain this paroksha jnana, and then the aparoksha jnana happens. And for that, we have to be in that eternal state of anasuya. Shraddha.
Can you please explain aparoksha and paroksha, please?
Paroksha jnana is what we are getting. It is like bookish knowledge. There's knowledge in the intellect. It's as a concept. That aham brahmasmi is a concept. It's paroksha jnana. Tattvamasi is a paroksha jnana. Whereas when you actually experience it, then that becomes aparoksha. It's actually aparoksha anubhuti.
It's like jnana and vijnana.
Exactly. So jnana and vijnana.
Hmm.
Vijnana is when it becomes you. You become that. So the whole journey for a sadhak is from paroksha jnana to aparoksha jnana. And that Bhagwan reassures is easy to accomplish. So we just need to have that shraddha, that he is there hand holding us. And just we need to follow dharma, according to dharma, whatever is, and do whatever has to be done. So we stopped here at chapter 2. We were doing the verse 58. Yada samharate chayam kurmonganiva sarvashaha indriyani indriyarthebhyaha tasya prajna pratishtita. So this is, and when, like the turtle that withdraws its limbs, this person is able to completely withdraw the sense organs from their objects. His knowledge is steady. This is in response to Arjuna's question about how a Sthita Prajna interacts with the world. The wise person's capacity, yes.
The sense organs are not to blame. That's where
Correct.
we
That's
have
where
to
we
stop.
stop. No, I'm just doing a little bit of recap. So a person may have jnana, but for that knowledge to be steady, he or she must be able to withdraw the sense organs from the sense pursuits at will. Although the senses themselves are not harmful, they are referred to as the villains by the Shastra and by ourselves. For example, we make such statements as, I am okay, but my sense organs take me for a ride, etc. So, the sense organs are not to blame. In fact, the sense organs are not to blame at all. They are purely reporters. They do not ask you to do anything. Otherwise, you could not go into a shopping mall and come out without everything sticking to you. The senses themselves are not turbulent. They only report, and they keep reporting because it is their nature to report. Reporting is their job. The eyes tell you what is there. If it is a sentence, 1 minute. Yeah. If it is a sentence, they help you read it. If it is a color, the eyes help you see it. It is not the sense of smell that tells you that this is sweet and so on. It only reports the smell. You are the one who decides whether it is sweet or not. Otherwise, who would like blue cheese? If the senses had sweetness, they would never develop a liking for a strong smelling cheese like called blue cheese. I don't know what blue cheese is. It is you who develop a liking for it, not the senses. They only report the smell. And when they report the smell of blue cheese to some people, those people run. The senses are not responsible for your going for the blue cheese. Your mind is the cause. Thus, the senses themselves are not to blame. Please remove the blame from the senses. They are given to you simply for reporting. They do no harm. The reason they are presented as villains is because they report there are problems. If they did not report, there would be no desire, no pursuit, and therefore no problem. But because they report, there are fancies, and you go along with the fancies. These fancies are many, and the reports of the senses are constant. They keep coming all the time. Reports of new objects, changing objects, new scenes, and changing scenes. Because the senses are a means of knowledge, a pramana, it is their job to report what is happening. For example, if there is a sound, your sense of hearing immediately tells you that it is a sound. Because of the various sense data, you get yourself started and before long find yourself caught up in fancies. Because the reports of the senses lead to fancies, the senses seem to be a problem, but they are not. Even the fancies that happen in your mind are not in themselves a problem, as we will see later. But because you go along with the fancies, the senses are considered to be turbulent and are thought of as the villains. The senses are not villains. If they report something and there is a fancy for it, you go along with the fancy until you find that you have no time for anything else. And because there are so many fancies, you are totally lost. The verse under discussion here refers to the person who is able to withdraw the senses at his or her will in order to gain steadiness in the knowledge of the self. When a person is able to gain or command the capacity to dismiss fancies at will, then his or her knowledge is steady, because there is nothing for the person to regret. A sthita prajna goes only by what he or she wants, meaning what is considered to be right, and is not dictated by fancies. To go by what you want means that you decide. The decision itself may be right or wrong, but you go by it and not by your fancies. The one who does not go by fancies, who is able at will to withdraw one's sense organs, is not in the hands of the senses. Sense pursuits do not happen for such a person without his or her signature and sanction. This person will then be able to gain jnana nishtha, steadiness in the knowledge of the self. It is like if there is a gulab jamun in front of you, so the senses, the eyes report and the nose reports the smell of this gulab jamun to your mind. And in your mind, you have, since you already have some knowledge of the gulab jamun, you fancy that it is a sweet and it is delicious. But then you decide, supposing you're a diabetic, for instance, you're a diabetic, and then it is up to you to decide whether to eat it or not eat it. So ultimately, whether the gulab jamun goes into your mouth or not depends on your decision. It is not on your senses, it is not on the fancy, it is on the intellect, the discriminating intellect, to decide whether you want to do it or not do it. So a sthita prajna goes only by what he or she wants, meaning what is considered to be right, and is not dictated by fancies. Anyone can withdraw the senses. We must remember here that the person under discussion is the sthita prajna, one whose knowledge is firm and remains. Otherwise, anyone who is together could be taken as jnani, which is not true. The person we are discussing is either a sthita prajna or one who is committed to sthita prajnatva, one who wants to be a sthita prajna. For both, the capacity to withdraw one's senses from anything at will is important. This capacity has already been accomplished by a sthita prajna, whereas for the one who wants to be a sthita prajna, it is yet to be gained. Krishna used the example of a turtle, kurma, with reference to withdrawing the sense organs. A turtle is able to withdraw its limbs at will and then send them out again. Because the turtle cannot move quickly, it is given a certain protection. It has the extraordinary capacity to withdraw its neck, legs, and tail in under its thick shell whenever it apprehends danger. The thickness of the shell prevents the detection of any scent of a living being underneath. This is Bhagavan's gift to the turtle and is also an indication of Bhagavan's sense of humor and justice. If he had given every living being 4 good legs, it would have meant that he had run out of imagination. Instead, Bhagavan is showing you that there is yet another way. Without big legs or fast movements, the turtle too can also survive by withdrawing its limbs into itself, into its shell. Similar to the turtle, a human being is not helpless in the hands of the senses, because the person also has a thick shell into which he or she can withdraw. In fact, for some people, their shell is so thick that nothing enters. If the mind is taken away by fancies, what can the senses do? But you can see 100 different things without wanting any of them. You simply see them in the same way as you see nature's autumn colors. What do you want out of them? Nothing. You just enjoy them from a distance, appreciating them as they are. So basically, if we can just do window shopping in the world without wanting anything, just window shopping and enjoying whatever we see. In the same way, the senses need not create a problem. If there is fancy, it comes as a fancy and goes as a fancy. It is only when you want something that problems arise. By means of the turtle example, Krishna is describing the capacity to withdraw the senses at will from their objects and into oneself. And for the one who has knowledge, this capacity will enable that knowledge to become steady, to gain nishtha. For the person who has prepared himself or herself for the knowledge by developing the capacity to make the mind and senses behave in this way, the knowledge is not going to be far away. And if the person is not so prepared, let him or her try to make the mind and senses behave by the practice of withdrawing them from the sense objects. It is as simple as that. The information in this verse is not provided in order to judge anyone, but so that you may understand how the mind and senses are meant to function. Does anyone want to share anything here? We've read the whole shloka 58, very, very significant shloka for our practice. And it's the Sthita Prajna Lakshana. So the Sthita Prajna Lakshanani Sadhakasya Sadhanani. So they are the tools for our, or the goals for our for a sadhak. So if we are able to withdraw our senses and the mind at will,
Yeah, Hari Om. It means even when you listen some people talking something bad or whatever it is, you can always unheard. I mean, you can always keep shut your ears as well. You have that capacity. Same
Right.
way with your hands and legs also, which is not essential. You can always direct your mind what to do and what not to do, and where to go and where not to go. Very beautiful.
Yeah.
And the biggest revelation is we have been blaming our senses. It's not the senses, it's our mind.
I like the sentence, the information in this verse is not provided in order to judge anyone, but so that you may understand how the mind and senses are meant to function. We had so much of discussions on people who are drinking or smoking and all that in a party and all that. This is what I was talking about. Why should we sit in judgment over them, whether it is right or wrong or whatever? The best is the part of the six wells where we talk about Uparati, how we can uplift somebody. If we can do that, fine, without being in judgment over them. Wonderful sentence.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there is yet another sentence somewhere earlier, which actually gives the danger of, what is that? Let me see. Yeah, you are totally lost. See, the senses are not villains. If they report something and there is a fancy for it, you go along with the fancy until you find that you have no time for anything else. And because there are so many fancies, you are totally lost. So we might end up spending our whole life just running after our fancies. So unless we step back and look at our own mind and how it is working, basically it's boiling down to raga and dvesha, isn't it? So having a say on them and having the ability to say no to certain things, that's it.
There's fancies, meaning that indicating sense objects, right? Is that what it is?
Fancy is something that you like and you want to have, isn't it?
Desire.
Desires, yeah.
That report something, there is a desire for it. Okay.
See, senses are only reporters and they report, and fancy requires that you have some prior knowledge also of that. Otherwise, there is
Right.
no way you can fancy a thing. For a child who does not know what is a gulab jamun, who's never seen a gulab jamun, it is just an object. There is no fancy linked to it. But some prior knowledge or some prior experience of that is what you start fancying it. Like blue cheese, like Swamiji had given the example. Now, I don't know what blue cheese is. For me, it's immaterial. But for someone who knows what blue cheese is, where maybe it's very delicious, the moment you see blue cheese,
yeah,
isn't it?
it's
So
an
the
old cheese that's it really
old
has,
cheese, is it?
yeah, it's
So maybe
really
it's tasty. We
yeah,
don't know.
strong smell. Yeah, some people like it. Yeah, with that one kind
Yeah.
of, yeah.
So only those people who have tasted it and who have developed a liking for it have a fancy for it. So then
I think
again,
you'll have a lot of dvesha for it.
it might be, I mean, you can either have raga or dvesha. Either which way is coming out of desire, or it is the same, two sides of the same coin. So you either crave for it or you want to run away from it. But that fancy element comes because of some prior experience or some prior knowledge, or you something heard. You may not have experienced it. Like raga comes when someone tells you, oh, this is gulab jamun, it's very tasty. You've not tasted it at all. But that memory of someone telling you that it is good, it is nice and delicious, that also can give you the fancy. So viragaha is where, from whatever you have heard and experienced, you develop dispassion. That is by viraga and raga.
I like the Percy G said, like instead of sitting and judging people, we can shift that focus from I like this, I don't like this is good, this is bad. If you know something is wrong, better to shift the focus from judging towards how can I change that. That I really like that for how he thinks.
Yeah.
Or
Because
help the person to know this is wrong. I mean, we may not be able to change the person, but at least that knowledge we could give, like what is wrong and right. We may not be able to change, but at least we could make him aware that this is, or by our conduct we can show him this is right or wrong.
yeah, it comes to active acceptance, no, and taking responsibility.
I think it is also giving, instead of what I was saying was just not sitting in judgment that what they are doing is wrong, but giving them a lot of love and compassion too. Like, see, if we are coming back feeling drained or negative about the party that we have been in, instead of that, if you were not to sit in judgment over that person, knowing that it lacks in knowledge, and we show a lot of compassion and love towards such people, maybe there would be a time for them to change. Maybe they don't like the way we look down upon them, and that is why they take to drink instead of coming to us. See, all this transformation which happens in jails or in the terrorists that we handle, most of the time these terrorists don't even know the language in which we are talking, and the translator also is very poor in that field. But mostly it is the love and compassion that we show that brings about actual transformation to them, along with all the meditation in the advanced course. So I think that works wonders. I mean, just not sitting in judgment over anybody doing something which we consider as wrong. There's nothing right or wrong. Like, it's just lack of knowledge that they are indulging in whatever they are. Because they lack knowledge, we should show more love and compassion towards them. If we need to bring about transformation.
That's true, because even we had been having this knowledge now. I mean, earlier, where did we have this knowledge, right, wrong, or what should be done? So having compassion towards them, definitely. Plus, I think by judging them, we are creating that barrier, isn't it? And that belongingness, or I belong to you, it just becomes a concept. We really don't do that in society. And I totally agree with that. Mingling with, see, you being Gyani and sitting secluded, how is it going to help the Loka Kalyana? It's not going to help. If you're strong enough, I think we should go out, mix up with people. With your conduct, we should show what is right or wrong, or they might get influenced, right?
Yeah, that is important. As long as you are strong from within. So we are all mumukshus, we are all sadhaks here. So if at all it is inevitable that we are in such a company, this is what we do. But uh, but then we also use our discrimination, viveka. It is not like you go to every party or every movie on the TV that comes, you watch and saying, okay, I'm going to be not sitting in judgment. Then you're only simply adding to your own vasanas. Here we are to deplete our vasanas, to exhaust our vasanas. So it's a fine line. I think it's a balance. If you are forced to be in such company, this will be our attitude. Yes. But I don't think we go seeking such company, isn't it?
Definitely not. But if you are invited for such a gathering,
Yeah,
where
I agree with you.
people are good, yeah, people are good, but their habits may not be that good. They're, I mean, people who drink and smoke, they cannot be bad people. Everybody, they have such good qualities. I have seen that. I have mingled with such people. They're really good. Maybe the spiritual knowledge what they live is much better than what we just bookishly we are following. They might be knowing much better than, or they have onto different levels. I have seen such people, but they have these habits. So sitting with such people, it doesn't get, I don't get affected many a times, definitely. And, but I have seen that when you are on such path, or they know you are from art of living, people try to, distance themselves from us. Like, oh, these people don't drink. They're doing this. I think that kind of a thing should be stopped. Like, you should be, by your nature, people should feel that comfort in your presence. Whether what you do or not do should not matter. They should feel that comfort being with you, and that is a success of being on spiritual path, isn't it? Their habit should not come between us. If they have a bad habit, oh, that's okay, and we should give them the comfort that it doesn't matter. You as a person, that's what I do care for.
I think it depends on the depth and maturity, and what level of sadhana you have reached as a sadhak. that will make somebody is already on the initial path. Like I remember my initial years. It was so tough everywhere. I was ridiculed. Like sitting in the restaurant eating something, and somebody used to say, "Okay, now Madhuri will talk about art of living," and they used to make fun of me. And I was not that very much equipped. I had only that so much, my heart full with reverence for my guru and for this knowledge and for Sudarshan Kriya. But I was not well equipped, and that depth was not there in me to withstand all such bombardings from all sides for all five senses. So, how you can say it depends on the level of maturity. Now it doesn't matter to me, definitely, but it took 22 years. So, somebody very initial on the path with so much bhakti and reverence for something, and trying to go deeper into it. And if he or she gets shaken up by these kinds of bombardings, it is better to avoid such places and such people, at least
Yeah.
to protect yourself. Like that guard, Brahmaraji gave the example, no, tree guard.
Yeah. True.
Afterwards, it doesn't matter of that guard.
Correct. But your presence makes a lot of difference. That's what I was trying to say, because many of such of my friends whom I thought they could be into art of living, they could be teachers, I never shrugged from meeting with them, or they used to ridicule me. But I tell you, they have become teachers now, and I have not. They have become teachers. So it does make a difference if you are in such company also. But of course, you need to be stronger.
Very true. So this shloka is a very good tool for us to, as a sadhana tool, from moment to moment, when we go out and experience the world. Just this knowledge, oh, I'm seeing this, what is that? Supposing you see a dish, or you see something in the supermarket, and your mind goes to it. Your eyes convey, they report it to your mind, and the mind fancies it. And whether or not you want to put it in your shopping cart will depend on your intellect. Whether you need it or you don't need it. Are you just satisfying your fancy? Are you satisfying your greed? So these are some introspective questions if we can ask. And that way it will help us gain that jnana nishtha. We'll get steady on this path. Otherwise, it is like the fluttering flag. We need to be like the pole, rooted in knowledge. Otherwise, wherever the wind takes us, wherever the senses report and our fancies take us, we will go throughout our life. So that to get that jnana nishta, this kurmonganiva sarvashaha is very important. Nice. So we'll stop here today. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jai Gurudev.